of a pear shape like this is what we're going to be starting. The little penguin has a little wider bottom, and then we got to have some room for some boots at the bottom, and then leave room at the top to be able to put a hat on there. So I've gotten this little shape. I'm going to draw my pear shape. It's going to have just a little bit of coming in like that. So once you get your pear shape, then we're going to be able to kind of build our body on top of that. So let's start here with a scarf. So I'm going to come up here to this natural area to put my scarf. This is going to be a smile face shape that's going to come across, just a little gentle smile. I'm going to go out just ever so slightly, and then I'm going to do a C, kind of a C shape right here, just to give my scarf some dimension. And then I'm going to follow my same little smile face shape this way. And I'm also going to come out here just a little ways and then do that other kind, the side on there, backwards C. Now you can go ahead and erase what's in here inside of your area to clean that up so you can see what you're drawing. So there we go, we have it done. Now let's go ahead and add a little bit more rounded cheek on here. So right now he's kind of got this little U-shaped top. Let's go ahead and add a little bit more rounded cheek. So I'm going to come here at the top of my scarf, and I'm going to come out just a little bit and make that rounded, because I want it to have that cuteness look to it. So I'm going to make it a little bit rounded, and then it's going to come right back into my head. Let's go ahead and erase this and see where we are. If it's too far out, if we're happy with that little cheek. So you can see how that kind of made a little difference just by giving him a little chubby cheek. You thought it was your phone? Yeah. No, for some reason it was on mute and I have no idea. Now to the back of his head, we're going to add just a little bit of roundness here too. So we want this end to be a little bit more rounded. So if you've got a little area that's a little bit more flat, like when we drew our pear, we're going to just build it out just a little bit more and add a little bit more fluffiness to our penguin. Now we got his little head drawn on there. So let's go ahead and I'm going to put this up here. And you know, I might have touched my wireless mouse and accidentally turned that volume off. And let's take a look at his face. So here is my center line, but I want his face to be slightly off center. So his body here is straight, like looking straight at us. And then he's more off to like at a twist to his head. So if I look here to the side, this would be my center line. I'm going to want his nose a little bit farther here. And you can just draw a light line like this just to get your area figured out of where your face is going to be. So then I can erase this middle line just like that. So now I have an area of where I could build my face. To do his little beak, it is going to be a shape that is going to have come up like this little shape here, and then it's going to curve down. Oh, does anybody got a good idea of what kind of shape that is? Like an arrow shape, I guess, is what we're going to be there. And then it's going to come down to a point. So this is going to be his little beak, right like that. And if I erase what's in the middle, I could go ahead and put his little nose holes in. So they're going to be right there like that. Cute. Now let's go ahead and we're going to draw that little black part in. So it's going to come in a little ways in on each side of his nose. And then we're just going to arch it up. Now my hat is covering the side of his head. You can draw all this black piece in if you want to. Say you're doing a different style of hat. Maybe your hat isn't coming down over his ears. Maybe you've got like more of a longer style hat or something like that. You can draw that piece there. Then that would be black. But I'm going to come on this side now, and I'm going to come up. And I'm going to stop it right here. Now I'm going to not see most of that black spot the way I'm drawing it. So I'm going to just erase this here. Now that was my center line, so I knew where to draw my face. And I'm going to erase this line up here because that's where my hat is going to go. So I did one of those kind of bomber style hats where it's got over his ears. So I started my hat down here and I went out a little ways. And I'm going to go across his forehead because I have to have it sitting down on his forehead so it looks like it's sitting on his head. Any type of hat that you're doing, you need to come over his forehead to make it look like it's sitting on his head. And then I'm going to come down with a little ear flapper like this. And then I'm going to come back up. And I'm going to go a little taller than his head. because I don't want it to sit exactly smack dab at where the top of his head would be. Like so. Now you could take your eraser, erase all of this on the inside, what might be covered, your hat might be covering, and depending on what style of hat you're using, yours might look different than mine. And then this is the time you can look at it to see if it makes sense to you. Does the shape make sense? Do you need to kind of curve it out and make it a little bit more rounder? Or are you happy with that? You can also kind of line up his cheek a little bit better now too if you think you need to change that now. And I might need to not have that line so curvy there. Let's maybe come out a little ways this way. Not have it so curvy. Keep on flipping back and forth for my pencils because I like the lead on this one, but I like the eraser on that other one. Okay. Okay, I think I'm happy with that. I'm going to put my little ball here at the top. So I have my little puffy ball. All right, let's go ahead and add his eyes in. So now his eyes aren't terribly close to his nose or his black part there. They're set off just a little bit farther. So I'm going to come here with this eye and just start my round circle. He's got cute big eyes, depending on how big you want to draw them. That, and he's going to have a little cheek that comes across, so there's going to be a little cheek area there. And I'm going to draw a bigger part, a partial one that's going to be my dark part of my eye. It's partial. And then there's going to be a little tiny bit of blue that's going to come there. And then if your penguin has eyelashes, you can put in those details with your marker. You know, once I look up at my camera, I can kind of tell I need to change this hat just a tiny bit more. He needs to come out just a little bit more. I'm kind of sitting off to the side, so sometimes I don't see things the same way you do. Well, often I don't see them. I don't see them the same way because I'm sitting off to the side and drawing off to the side. Okay, so let's go ahead and add his other eye. So his other eye is going to be here. And then the dark part, since I put it here, it's going to be on this side of my eye. Okay, so if I put it here, then it has to be on that side. And then there'll be a little bit of blue that I'll drop in there. And then he's going to have a little bit of a cheek line here too, is what I'm going to add. All right, we have that part done. Let's move down and do a little bit of a flapper or his wings that he has. Note diamond. Oh, that's a good one. A short. Yes, that's a good idea, Joni. That's a kind of a shortish diamond. You're right. Okay, so I'm going to come here to do his flapper. Now this too, since my tree is sitting here, I just saw a tiny bit of his arm. So I'm just going to draw just a tiny bit in. But if your penguin is doing something else, you might see his whole arm. But my guy is holding a tree, so I'm not going to have too much there. And I'm going to put my tails of my scarf in, and then that will help me decide where this little flapper is going to be. So I know I still want a flapper in. It's not going to be too long, so I'm going to probably make sure I have his little arm come about right there. I'm just going to come up with his scarf. So I'm going to build this around, come back around. It looks good to have some curvature to this. So if you curve your lines just a tiny bit when you're drawing your scarf and not having them straight, that's just going to give your drawing a little bit more character to it and more dimension. So I've got my lines curved here and this one's curving this direction. Now let's take the one that's behind it. I'm going to curve it, but now this one's going to drop a little lower than the one I drew here. And that's just going to be a little bit of a staggered look, and it's just going to give it a little bit more dimension. Okay, and I'm going to erase the line right here. Okay, he's looking pretty cute. I'm going to go ahead and erase these lines on his tummy because I know I'm not going to need those anymore. Erase that up. And here. Okay. Maybe I want to make the back of his head just a little different. I can never draw them the same twice. So they're never going to be twins, but they could be cousins by the time I get done drawing them. All right, so let's go ahead and add his little boots in. Now his feet are just opposite of each other, so the toes are going opposite direction. And the way I did that is I looked here was the middle line. I kind of kept that. I just went at a sideways rectangle a little bit instead of making them straight on, just to give them a little bit more character. I'm touching part of my body down here, so I have part of the body covered up with the top of the boot. I'm going to step in just a little ways so it's not exactly in line with this one. I'm going to come down, and then I have to make sure I give him a heel. So you're going to have that L shape. Now you can come up just a little bit because he does have penguin feet. And we're going to come up with the toe. I gave it a little bit of a bump, so my toe is higher, and then I came back down to my top. I thought that made kind of a cute little penguin foot, and then I go ahead and erase that part there. Now let's do the other one. So now this is going to be the opposite direction. So my part here is going to be heading this direction. So you're going to have that V shape here. One's going this way, one's coming up that way. Better come a little lower or I'll be too high. I'm going to come here to my back, do those little sideways rectangles. And then again, we're going to come down, step in a little bit. Like you don't want the back of your boot to be totally even with that cuff of the boot. So you're going to step in just a little ways, come down. This is where you're going to make your heel. So you're going to do that L, kind of the L shape, the backwards one now. And then I'm going to come up a little bit with my toe, just a little bit. And then I'm going to come up. I'm going to give him a point on his boot and then come back. Oh, he's kind of cute. He looks darling. Okay, so now depending on what, I did some laces in here too. I'm going to have to come a little bit farther in. I did some laces, and those are just sideways V's that come back like that on your boot. If you do 3 here, you should try to do 3 on this side just to make them kind of match a little ways. There we go. All right, and now let's go ahead and put this little black line in here. This just gives him a little bit more dimension on his tummy so he's not all the same color. So I'm going to come in here and just make a tiny little line that will be a black mark that will go all the way around his little tummy area. So I'm going to come in. It's not overly big. I'm going to come around. And wherever you stop here, you can do visible line over, touch down wherever your pencil lands that you don't have anything drawn. Come across, come over, and then you're just going to follow the shape over here too. Now some of this might be covered up as well by Christmas tree on mine because I have a Christmas tree there. But if your little guy's doing something different, you might need to have all of that part on there as well. All right, let's go ahead and do our little Christmas tree. Now I did it at an angle, so I just started lightly with like a light line down the middle of my Christmas tree. That just helps it line it up so I know which direction I'm going. I need to have enough room to put a star if you want to put a star up there. So I'm going to start with my star actually, and I'm going to try to get it centered on that stick that I just drew. Okay, there we go. Now to do the top, we're just going to come down at an angle. And then all we're going to have is some like little drapes up and down, like so. And then we're going to do our next one. We're going to come in a little bit, not as wide as what we just drew this one, because we're going to swoop it out first. We're going to swoop it down. We're going to do a little bit of up and downs again. And then we're going to come up, and it's going to be shorter or going into that tree. So it's not going to be, whoops. So you want it to come in to your tree. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense. Now I'm going to erase this as I go, as I'm coming down, so I don't have those lines there anymore. So now I'm going to find my next spot. I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to come down. I'm going to swoop down first, and then we're going to do a little longer, like little fingers, little ruffles. Now this is where I'm going to kind of go over my penguin, and then I'm going to come up, and I'm going to come in there. So whatever was the showing on my penguin through my tree, I'm going to erase that, because as soon as I erase that, then that's going to push the penguin to be in the background and the tree is going to be in the foreground. Okay, so there we go. We got our cute little tree. And then I just did a stem of a trunk, I guess, of my tree. I stopped at my boot, and it looks like it's kind of just going behind his boot, is how I set mine up. Now we got some room for some words over here, and I wrote merry and bright, but that just because I went with that because of the lights that I'm going to be adding. So I just do a very much a handwriting, but I always say this skill is rather like drawing. So the more you practice it, the better you're going to get. but you can do your own little handwriting. Let's see, Mary and let's see if I can't get bright in here. What makes it look good is if you switch up, like have some uppercase and some lowercase, and even make some lowercase ones that would normally be lowercase, make them into uppercase. And I'm going to follow over here where this G I ended, I'm going to end my H, put my stick there, and then come up high. So it's a little bit of lowercase, a little bit of uppercase, but that's what's going to make it look good. Now let's go ahead and work on some of these lights. Now the lights are just little simple lights. They have, they're little shapes that are, okay, help me out again. What's another shape right here? First of all, let's go ahead and wrap those lights. The reason why I added the lights is because I had some room here I needed to use. So I'm just going to go lightly with my pencil. I'm going to hold it towards the back, and I'm going to just put my pencil down here, and I'm just going to start with a curl, fill up some space. I'm going to go off my page and then come back down, head down a little ways, make another curve, come around, make another one, and then down. And it most certainly doesn't have to be this pattern because everybody's going to be drawing on different sizes of paper. Yours is probably going to look different than mine. Okay, so we have that on there. And now let's go ahead and pop some lights in. I chose to use 4 colors. Let's see, red, blue, yellow, green. And I just started with the back end of my bulb, just making kind of a little lines on each side. So there's just a little lines. Can you guys even see that? I don't even know. I just made the little lines on the bulb right there. And then I made this part rounded, and it comes to a kind of a point, but it's got like a little rounded point, just like a little light bulb would be. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to do that little rounded shape and then come to a, maybe it's a cone. Is that a good word for it? One there. And the one thing that makes these look cute is if you have some going one direction and then switching and going another. And then if you don't want to mess with doing the cone shape, you could always just do little round balls by putting them on the end of this little light type of a thing. You could just do that. And then you wouldn't have to mess with doing this shape. The little round balls would be cute too. Okay, let's come over here and do one. Like so. Let's go one up. That, maybe fit another one in here. So, around. And even if these don't look exact like a light bulb, people are going to know like, oh, those are Christmas lights is what they are. Maybe I will put one here too. Okay, I'm going to call that good. Now with this one, I'm not going to be doing a lot of pen work on this one. I'm choosing not to do a lot of pen work on here. I'm going to be mostly doing just pencil. Hang on to my pencil here. And I wanted to add a little bit of white detail here, so I'm going to draw that right now so that I remember to leave it plain when I'm doing it. And I just ran that right along to the end of his hat. And I came in, did this little swirl, match my pattern that I just did. Okay, now my guy has these little ties on his hat, so I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to make some ties that come across. Like so. I'm going to put a little ball at the end, and then I'm going to make some just little tie patterns that come in around. Like that. And then I'm going to come up here and do these ones. So I'm going to jump out, and then I'm going to come back into his tummy, get that round ball, follow it around. Okay, do some a little erasing. All right, so at least I have it set up so I know what I'm going to do. Now I'm going to go ahead and take a kneaded eraser, and I'm going to go ahead and take a kneaded eraser, and I'm going to take that and I'm going to roll it over my drawing. So this is going to lighten up my drawing without doing a lot of erasing. So I'm just going to pick up some of the pencil. So I'm still going to be able to see what I just drew, but my pencil lines won't be as harsh. I don't mind. I'm a type of artist where I don't really mind seeing too much of my pencil though too, so it doesn't really bother me even if I see a little bit of pencil mark on there. Plus I kind of have a heavy hand, so okay. Okay. And that'll be okay. And if you need to get into there a little bit more to actually make it even lighter, go ahead and take, I like using these polymer erasers to get in there, and then I go in and I can kind of come right on in there and erase some of the lines. Sometimes I need to do that for those ones that are going across my paper. And then what I like to use is a little bit of a dust vacuum so I can pick that up. Okay, and then we're going to be ready to work on our little guy. Now tonight I'm just going to be using a simple set of watercolors. They're not too expensive. There's 50 in here, but it's a nice little set. That's one of the reasons why I like using watercolors too, is because I can automatically pick this up and have 50 colors right in one little box. So it's really a great way to be able to do painting without having a lot with me. Okay, and then today I'm going to be using a number 4, or number 6, I guess, number 6 Velvet Touch Princeton brush. This is a great little watercolor brush. They're not terribly expensive. They've got a nice little pointed edge on these, and they spring back really well, so it's a great little watercolor brush to be able to use. Okay, and I usually keep a paper towel in my hand so I can go ahead and tap my paper towel so I can see how much water I have in there. And if you're new to watercolor, you're going to want to do some sort of watercolor card so that you can see, you really need to get a dust vacuum. Yeah, you can go ahead and see what your colors really are. So they look so different here than they do on your paper. So let's go ahead. I'm going to begin with a little bit of the dark black. What does I do with my, oh, it's sitting right here. I have one of these little ceramic dishes too. These make great little mixing dishes to be able to put your color in and mix. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of my black and I'm going to mix it over here. I'm looking for about tea consistency is what I'm wanting. The more water you have, the lighter your color is going to be. But watercolor, you always start light and then work your way dark anyway. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to give this a tap so I don't get too much on there where I don't want it. And let's see, I'm going to start with my black. So I'm going to start here. And even though black is pretty dark right away, you're probably going to need another coat. You can also leave some white areas showing. And watercolor, that's okay. It's one of those odd mediums where it's okay to see some of your substrate underneath there. All right, and let's see, I'm going to do his little arm here. And the way I drew his hat this time, I might be able to see just a tiny bit of black right here on this way. So there's his little flipper here. And I'm going to see a little bit of his flipper up here. So I'm going to put that in there. And then this little line that goes around on his tummy. Now the one area that's kind of, because this flipper is so close to my little black line, when I'm going to be able to shade it, when I come back in, I'll need to have a difference between his body, that little black line there, and his flipper. So you need to kind of keep that in mind when you're doing your shading. Otherwise, it's all going to look the same. So you'll need to have a slight difference. And usually, well, the way I did mine is I made the flipper darker than this little black line here. And then, of course, his tummy is all done in kind of shades of gray with a little hint of pink. Okay, cute. Let's rinse this out. Now I'm going to pick up a little bit more of that black, but I'm going to add more water to it. So it's even less like ink. It's going to be really less like tea. We're going to go right on down until very weak tea is what we're going to be using. So we want a real light color. I'm going to test it here and see if I'm light enough. I'm adding quite a bit of water into that. Let's see. Now I'm going to come in and I'm going to work a little bit on his face. Now this one is important. You want it to be light, and that's probably too dark. I might even bump down to just my gray. Let's see. I do have a gray in here. It's a little bit cooler than my black. I could try that color and add more water to it. It has some white into it as well. Give this a tap. Let's try this one. Okay, because I want this to be light. Now when I go around his eye, I'm going to try to maybe see if I can't leave just a little bit of highlight white around that eye so it's not all gray. And then I'm going to come around. This was the back of his head here. And I'm going to just do really light on his cheeks because I know I'm going to be wanting to put some pink on there. So I want just a real soft color. Now, if you get this done and you're like, oh, I got too much gray, you can always clean your brush out, give it a tap, and then you can pick up some of your color too. So if you feel like you got it too dark, you can always pick a little bit up. Okay, I think I'm happy with that color, that gray color. Let's come in here. Are we able to see well enough tonight? You know, I had it set up for a different occasion, and I don't know if I got it ever set back down. Let's try this. Hang on. We'll see if we can get a little bit closer. Okay, so let's do, okay, try a little gray. And let's do a little bit of that on his tummy. Oops, that's getting a little dark. Now this area will be a little darker because there's going to be a shadow from the scarf is going to be underneath there. So it is going to be a little darker to add that little bit of a shadow. It's going to be darker here because there would be a shadow here. And around your Christmas tree, that would be a little darker as well. I'm going to rinse my brush out, clean water. I'm going to come in and touch that area and soften and blend my color out just a little bit more. I don't have a lot of water on my brush, but I'm just going to kind of scooch that color around and pick up a little bit more. Okay. I'm going to wet that with a little bit of clean water, scooch that color around. I don't want puddles because if I get puddles, I'm going to get those really strong rings of watercolor. That's from like too much water, and then you're going to get those really strong rings on there. Well, this is wet. I'm going to pick up a little bit of some pink, just kind of a blush color pink. My paper's still wet, a little bit of pink here, and I'm going to tap that in to his tummy area. Okay, so that's kind of bright, so I want to go ahead and wash my brush out, give it a tap. It's still got some clean water in there, and I'm going to scooch this color around, and I'm going to blush a little bit of color, pink, on his belly. And I'm just kind of scooching that color around, softening it with a little bit of water. Okay, I'm thinking that's pretty cute. He looks great with a little pink tummy. Now I'm going to use that same gray or that same pink, and I'm going to water it down even a little bit more. So I'm adding a little bit more water into it, giving it a tap, and then I'm going to add some of that on his cheeks. And I'm just tapping with the end of my brush because I'm not wanting a solid circle. I'm just adding that blush color on there and let it sit. Now, if you get too much on there and it's too harsh of a circle, you can go ahead and rinse your brush out again, tap it, and then come in and soften it up again with some clear water just to get the lines out. Hey there, have two devices going, watching you and Jeannie. Glad you're here. Glad you're here. Oh, those who are watching on Facebook, if you could give me a thumbs up today, I would so appreciate it. YouTube loves the fun thumbs up, so I really greatly appreciate that. Now I'm going to go ahead and take a little bit of red. So I'm just choosing a nice red. Now red needs quite a few layers when you do red normally. Or at least this red it does anyway that I have in my set. Every watercolor set is going to have different pigments in it. I'm not going as light as tea consistency because I know this red isn't particularly super dark. Hello Pat, thanks for coming on. So I'm going to go and give this a tap, and then I'm going to come up here and do his hat. I'm going to start at the outside. Now I have that little squiggle line in there that I'm going to try to go around to try to leave it white. Here we go. Bring it down. And let that sit and dry, because more than likely we're going to have to put another layer on there. Okay. Let's pick a little bit of red, and I'm going to make his boots that red color. So I'm going to come right in, put that on his boots. Now you could leave a little bit of highlight on his toe, like the actual white paper. You can find a little spot to leave a little bit of openness. That would be great. It looks good to have a little bit of, difference in your color. Right around. A little bit of white there. Okay, cute. I'm going to let that sit just a tiny bit, and then I'm even going to come in with a little bit darker color to be able to do his another layer of red. So let's come down here, and we're going to come across here. Now these were the strings, the little from his little hat. So I'm going to come down. I'm going to do just a round ball. The 6 brush works fairly well. If you had a size 4, you could probably use that and have a little bit more control of your color. Come over here and add a little bit more. Now with this scarf, I kept it white and then just added some white stripes on it. But if you wanted to even darken that up a little bit more, like if you didn't want to leave it white, you could actually do a real light shade of red first and then add the white stripes over the top of it if you wanted to do that. But I'm thinking I'm going to still keep my white stripes. So I'm going to come in here, give this a tap, and I'm just going to come around. I'm going to try to keep some curvatures in these too, so I don't want them to be like straight up and down. So I'm going to curve a little bit to give it some interest, like that. And then when I get down here, I'm going to curve like these would be smile face shapes that I'd be painting. And it looks good to stagger them so they're not exactly all in the same row when you hop to your next one. So if you can find the little spot, if it works for you, to find where it's not connecting to that other one, that looks pretty good if you can. Okay, so for the little top of his boots, I'm going to come back to my black. It's pretty watered down, and I'm going to do these kind of a light gray, but a little bit of the black. I'm going to leave some of the white in there. Now I got kind of a big puddle there, so I'm going to pick some of my color up with my paper towel, just to pick some of the color up because I got way too much water in there. And then I can come in now with a little bit of that grayish black too and darken up underneath here just a tiny bit. Add a little bit more shadow on his face where his hat would be down here. You can also come in with a little bit of the gray on your white on here if you wanted to add a little bit of shadow into your pieces of your scarf. You could take it and add where your shadow lines would be. You don't need a lot, just a tish in between your areas if that's something you would like to try. Okay, now let's find a deeper red. So I'm going to take my red color here, and I'm going to take just the tiniest bit of my black, and I'm going to add it to it just to deepen that color up just a tiny bit. And I probably got way too much in there. Okay, give this a tap. Make sure I don't have too much on my brush because this gets really it gets really dark really quick. I'm just going to tap in a shadow here off to my side. And I'm not going to cover up all of that red I just put on. So I'm coming in with the tip of my brush and adding some color here and there, but not everywhere, because I still want to see part of that original black. I'm going to come down here and darken up my shoes too. So I'm going to go underneath the fur, the back heel, the bottom, so underneath here, the back heel area, and on the bottom. I'm still going to kind of leave the toe fairly light. Oh, he's looking absolutely darling. Now this is the time you can decide for your eyes if you want to use with straight paint, or do you want to use the black part, do you want to use a pen? And I'm thinking I'm going to go ahead and use my Micron pen. Those are a permanent ink, so they will stay put where you want them. And they're a nice black color. So I'm going to come in here and do my part of my eye here. I just want to make sure, if I can remember doing it, is to leave a little bit of white in my eye. So that will be the catch light. So I'm going around. You can also put it in the end if you need to with a pen. But I always think it looks, excuse me, I still got part of that cold going on. We're going on a long time with this. If I start talking much more than a half hour, my throat goes, my throat can feel it. I can come here and then I'm going to do this one. And you know, I like when the eyes are drawn in with the black, and if I can get that little white spot in, I like it because it's an irregular shape. It's not just this round little dot in there. So I do like doing that. I'm going to come in with my one, and I'm going to trace around my eye just a little bit to darken it up. And this, I'm going to add some eyelashes. So I'm going to come over here, and then I'm going to add some on this side as well. Cute. All right, I'm going to use this little black one to do the little nose holes. And I'm going to use it for his laces on his shoes, just to darken those up and give those a dark feel. And I'm going to do a little line like that. This is all the little details. You get to decide about your drawing, how you want it to look, the feel you want it to. You could add a ton more pen work or gel pens, glitter pens, all kinds of things. You could add all of those things in there if you wanted to. Let's take care of his little beak. I'm just going to pick up kind of an orangish color, put that in there. Splash of orange. Let's work a little bit on that Christmas tree. I'm going to choose a light, fairly light green to begin with. So this is going to be kind of a bright Christmas color right here. And I'm going to go ahead and put that in. Whoops. Just plop some of it in. And then I'm going to come in with a different shade of green to add the depth into my Christmas tree. So we got this bright color. And your tummy should be fairly dry. You wouldn't have to worry about the color running in there. And then let's take maybe a bluish green, kind of more of like a pine green. And I'm going to tap some of that in because now it's a wet on wet blend. So I've got some of my color. The underneath color is wet, and I'm going to put a wet color on the top. And it's going to kind of just sit and work its watercolor magic. And we're going to see how the colors will blend together. All right, we'll see what happens as my little tree starts to get the little colors out there. Let's work a little bit on the light fixture or the light bulbs. And all I did was I used the colors that I kind of used everywhere else. So I haven't done the star yet. That's going to be this yellow color. So I'm going to be adding this yellow to my star, but I need to give that tree just a little bit of time to dry, or I'll have a green star too. So I have the yellow, I have my green, and I have my red, and then I'm going to pick up a blue because I did make his eye blue for his, I gave him a really bright blue eye, which was super cute. Let's see. Find another area here. Just wipe these out. Let's pick up that bright blue. Okay, and I probably should do his eye. So I'm going to take my brush. I've got it pretty good. I'm just going right into my paint. I'm going to give this a tap, tap, tap. I don't have a lot of water on here, but I do have quite a bit of pigment. I'm going to come with the end of my brush, and I'm just going to tap that color next to the dark part of his eye. And this will be the colorful part of his eye. Now we'll see how well it sits. Sometimes I end up with not a lot of white in the end, but the color is what makes it really pop. And if you can get a little tiny bit of that white to keep on the outside there, that's going to look really cute. Okay, so let's do some of these lights. Okay, if I do blue, then count. See, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. See if I get my pattern right. So sometimes that's the hardest part, is getting your pattern right. Okay, let's do a red one. Okay, and then a green one. These little lights look really cute, all done up. I will use the pen to do the cord of my lights, so I will add that on there. Let's do it right there. Oops. So the other color I was going to use was the gold, like I used for the top of the light there. So I'm going to put some of that in there. And maybe that, I probably didn't count my pattern right. Anyway, you could probably put those on there. Maybe I'll just do a yellow one here, and then I'll at least have 2 yellow ones, I guess. I didn't do something right. Didn't do something right. Okay. Hello, Michelle. Oh, thanks for saying about the numbers. Yeah, it was a big number for me to hit. I was hoping I would hit that number before the end of the year. And the YouTube number too. That's a big hurdle to try to get those numbers as well too. So let's come in and do this bright yellow star. And depending on how your yellow dries, you may need a couple coats on there to get it to work right. And let's see, I need to do the bulb. So I'm going to take a little bit of my black, water it down, not a lot. This is just going to be for the end of the bulb, so that'll just be the dark part that's connecting to the wire. I'm just going to pop that in there. So you can see that even if you didn't want to draw that little bulb shape, if all you wanted to do was just have little round balls on there, that would work, and it would give you the idea of that was the Christmas bulbs. Let's go ahead, and I'm going to use my one, I think, for my lettering. And number 3 would have worked well too for this. Okay, I'm going to have to turn this a little bit so my hand doesn't get into my wet watercolor with dragging it across everything. Up we go. Oh, I need to add a little color to the ball, the puff part of his hat. There we go. Okay, let's add a little bit of a color. I forgot to do that. Add a little bit of color, grayish color, a little bit up to here on the top of his little puff ball. Cute. Now, originally I had done the ornaments with watercolor, but this time I kind of forgot to leave them out, so I think I might still have some gel pens or some markers here. Let's see what I got. I do have some quick markers. I could use, let's see, maybe I've got my gel pens down here a little deeper. I carry this bag back and forth to work with me, so I always have this art bag with me. Okay, here, these gel pens will work. These have glitter in them. They will be fun. Hello, John. Thanks for popping on. We're going to come here and let's take our little gel markers with a little bit of sparkle in it. The darker ones will work over the top of the greens, but if I wanted the yellow, I would have had to make sure I left round white circles to be able to go over it. But since I kind of forgot to do that, the yellow won't show up so well here. I'll try the orange and see what we get. And let's try a blue and see what we get with that. It'll still be cute. It'll just be different than the original one I did. Cute. I like that too. I like that too. Okay, let's see if I've got everything. Let's do a little bit of, oh, I've got his little stem for my tree. That's a color I haven't used yet. I haven't used any brown. So let's try a little bit of brown. That's my paper towel. So I'm just going to pick up a little bit of brown to do the stem in. that. Cute. Now, if you want to add a little bit more decorative border, you can easily come in and add some stitch marks, some like X's. Go around and you can do the zigzag, like a zigzag mark up and down, like it was sewn. Do some dots and dashes, break up your line patterns around here. Now, since my wording is so close here, I think I will start my pattern up here a little bit and not get too close and interfere with that. Then I'm going to come up. Let's do some more of those zigzags. Come around. Turn your paper if you need to. That really does help. Come around. Oh, and I did forget one important thing on my penguin. I forgot his little heart. Here we go. Let's get you up here where you can see. Okay, let's do a little heart. Now, you want to do it in watercolor, the big choice. You want to do it in watercolor? Do you want to do it in pen? Whatever makes, I like to add a little heart somewhere. I didn't do it the black one the last time. I didn't do black around it the last one. I only did the pencil on this one, which I kind of like. I like that pencil idea better than doing the, I'm going to come in here with my pencil and I'm going to strengthen some of these lines a little bit on my Christmas tree. I'm going to scribble them just to bring out that line a little bit more of my Christmas tree. And that is it. Now, after I did my lettering, you could come back in as well, take your kneaded eraser or your other ones, and you could just go right over that, pick up a little bit more of your pencil from your letter in the area. And he is cute. Now, if you want to keep him so he doesn't smear, you would just need to go ahead and do a coating of a fixable, like a workable fixative over the top of it, or even a light mist polyacrylic over the top, but hold it farther away so it doesn't run your watercolors. And you could easily do that over top of it, and then your drawing would be more fixable, more permanent. You can also wax. You can also wax your watercolors. Like if you wanted to put this on a wooden cradle of some sort, if you wanted to put it on a wooden cradle, you could always use a little bit of wax. I use the Annie Salone wax, and that works really well. You just need to make sure your picture is all dry, and then you can mount it, and then you can take wax and cover it. It does change the sheen just a little bit, but it's not a bad sheen. It's rather pretty, actually. Well, that is it for now, and I always say they never always look exactly alike, but they could be cousins in the end, right? And it was a super fun way to create a fun way to take an art break. I so appreciate it. For those that have popped on and taken a little art break with me, I'll be back on Thursday, and Thursday I've got a kitty drawing ready to go, so we'll be doing a Meowie Christmas is what we're going to be doing on Thursday. Thursdays are always just on YouTube. So when you pop on Thursday to watch the draw along, that's where you'll find me. It's on my YouTube page, and my link is easy to find. I always have it on my Facebook page. If you normally watch from Facebook, you can find me there. Oh, and before I forget, for those who would like to have be a part of my sketchbook membership, this is my Ko-fi page, and there's where you can get all of the tracers. I send them out to everyone for the tracers for all my drawings that I do. So I know not everyone likes to draw, or they might like to have a reference, or you never know what you can do. You could use this and trace it for acrylic paints too. And I also included a really big one this time too, so they could do an acrylic paint drawing if they wanted to. So that's available. It's very reasonably priced, but you can pop over there. It's just a great way to also support my channel as well. Well, thanks everyone for coming out and hanging out with me and taking an art break. You have a good evening, and hopefully we'll see you on Thursday. Bye now.